The women's 3,000 meters at the AIT Grand Prix stands as a definitive case study in the architecture of indoor middle-distance racing, illustrating the delicate balance between physiological limit testing and tactical psychological warfare. To analyze this race properly, one must look beyond the simple chronological progression and examine the layers of preparation, pacing strategy, and biomechanical execution that allowed Keely McGeehan to deliver a career-defining performance. The event was set against the backdrop of the high-velocity indoor circuit in Athlone, a venue known for its tight turns and intimate atmosphere, which inherently rewards athletes who possess not only raw speed, but also the spatial awareness to navigate a crowded field without wasting vital energy. The composition of the starting list was the first indicator that this would be a high-caliber race. You had a fascinating intersection of three distinct career trajectories: the veteran consistency of Rosie Clark, the home turf ambition of Keely McGeehan, and the raw emerging brilliance of Sarah Healy. This mix created a volatile tactical environment where the veterans wanted an honest, fast pace to prevent a chaotic sprint finish, while the younger athletes were looking to gauge their progress against established international standards. From the moment the starter's pistol fired, it was evident that the race would not be a slow, cagey affair. The decision to employ active pacemaking from the first lap was a signal of intent, indicating that the leading athletes were chasing specific qualifying times and personal benchmarks rather than just podium positions. During the opening kilometer, the field demonstrated what coaches call high-level aerobic efficiency. McGeehan and Clark positioned themselves with surgical precision. In indoor racing, the line of least resistance is everything. By tucking in immediately behind the leaders, they minimized their exposure to the air resistance that, while less significant than in outdoor stadiums, still contributes to cumulative fatigue over 15 laps. The internal focus of these athletes during the first 3 minutes was likely centered on rhythmic breathing and maintaining a relaxed upper body. Any tension in the shoulders or jaw at this stage would result in wasted glycogen, which would be desperately needed in the final 400 meters. As the race transitioned into the middle 1,000 meters, the psychological dimension began to outweigh the physical. This is the gray zone of the 3,000-meter distance, where the initial adrenaline has dissipated and the metabolic cost of the pace begins to manifest as localized muscle fatigue and systemic oxygen debt. It was here that McGeehan and Clark began to exert their dominance. Their movement remained fluid, contrasting with the visible struggle in the chase pack. The gap that opened between the lead duo and the rest of the field, including the talented Sarah Healy, was not the result of a sudden explosive move, but rather a relentless, incremental application of pressure. McGeehan, leading the charge, forced Clark into a reactive state. In distance running, being the one who dictates the tempo is a double-edged sword. You consume more mental energy focusing on the pace, but you also control the emotional state of your competitors. The battle between McGeehan and Clark through the 2,000-meter mark was a masterclass in drafting and tracking. Clark's strategy was clear: stay on the shoulder, utilize the slipstream, and wait for a moment of hesitation from the Irishwoman. However, McGeehan showed remarkable maturity by not allowing the pace to sag. Often, when a leader senses a rival on their shoulder, they might overreact and surge too early, but McGeehan maintained a metronomic consistency. This forced Clark to work harder just to maintain her position, effectively neutralizing the advantage of following. Meanwhile, Sarah Healy's performance in the second group provided a different kind of insight. For a teenage sensation, the challenge was to avoid being pulled into a pace that was beyond her current aerobic ceiling. Her ability to lead the chase pack showed a disciplined understanding of her own physical limits, ensuring she gained maximum competitive experience without risking a complete physiological breakdown. The final third of the race shifted the narrative from endurance to pure anaerobic capacity. As the runners approached the final kilometer, the atmosphere in the Athlone arena reached a fever pitch. This environmental factor cannot be ignored. For a local athlete like McGeehan, the vocal support of the crowd acts as a powerful external stimulus, that can momentarily mask the pain signals being sent from the central nervous system. When the intensity increased with a few laps to go, it became a question of who could maintain their biomechanical integrity under the highest level of acidity in the blood. McGeehan began her long-range kick, an aggressive tactic designed to break the opponent's spirit before the final bend. Instead of a short burst of speed, she opted for a sustained acceleration that required immense core strength and a powerful arm drive to maintain stability on the banked turns. The final lap was the culmination of months of specific track sessions designed to simulate this exact moment of extreme fatigue. When the bell rang, the transition in McGeehan's stride was evident. Her hip extension became more pronounced, and her ground contact time decreased, shifting her into a sprint mechanic, despite having already run nearly 3 kilometers at a breakneck pace. Rosie Clark's attempt to respond was valiant and showed why she is a staple of the elite circuit, but she simply could not match the sheer velocity of McGeehan's finishing kick. The gap that formed in the final 100 meters was a visual representation of a breakthrough. Crossing the line in 8:48.28, McGeehan did more than just win a race. She redefined her ceiling as an elite athlete. A 7-second improvement on a personal best at this level of the sport is an extraordinary achievement that suggests a significant jump in oxygen processing efficiency. For the statisticians and analysts, this performance moved her into a new bracket of international competitiveness. For Clark, the second-place finish was a testament to her reliability and tactical sharpness, providing the necessary friction that pushed the winner to such a fast time. For Sarah Healy, the race served as a foundational block for her future, proving she could hold her own in a high-pressure professional environment. In summary, the women's 3,000 meters at the AIT Grand Prix 2020 was a perfect synergy of tactical intelligence, physical preparation, and psychological resilience. It demonstrated that middle-distance racing is as much about the economy of motion as it is about heart and determination. McGeehan's victory was a product of a perfectly timed peak in form, a deep understanding of the track's geometry, and the ability to execute a complex race plan under immense physical duress. This event remains a highlight of the indoor season, offering a blueprint for how to turn a tactical middle-distance race into a display of pure athletic dominance. The deeper examination of the women's 3,000-meter race at the 2020 AIT Grand Prix reveals the intricate layers of preparation and execution that extend far beyond the immediate excitement of the clock. To understand the magnitude of Keely McGeehan's victory, one must analyze the specific demands of the Athlone indoor track. Unlike the standard 400-meter outdoor oval, the 200-meter indoor circuit presents a unique set of challenges, characterized by tighter, banked turns and a more frequent transition between straights and curves. In this environment, centrifugal force acts as a persistent antagonist, constantly threatening to pull the runner outward and disrupt their kinetic chain. McGeehan's performance was a masterclass in managing these physical forces. Her ability to hug the inner rail with surgical precision minimized the total distance covered, while her lower center of gravity allowed her to navigate the banks without the lateral energy leakage often seen in taller or less coordinated runners. As the race progressed into its final 1,000 meters, the focus shifted from simple aerobic maintenance to the preservation of biomechanical integrity under extreme metabolic stress. This phase of a 3,000-meter race is where the efficiency gap becomes visible. While many athletes begin to experience a breakdown in form, marked by a tightening of the trapezius muscles or a shortening of the stride, McGeehan maintained a remarkably stable carriage. Her stride remained fluid, characterized by a powerful hip extension and a clean foot strike that maximized ground reaction forces. This technical consistency is not accidental. It is the result of rigorous neuromuscular training designed to automate high-velocity movement patterns, even when the brain is clouded by rising carbon dioxide levels and muscular acidity. Rosie Clark, despite her exceptional grit, began to show the faintest signs of fatigue in her upper body mechanics during the final 2 laps. a subtle shift that likely provided McGeehan with the psychological cue needed to launch her definitive surge. The tactical narrative within the chase pack, spearheaded by Sarah Healy, offers another layer of professional insight. For an emerging talent like Healy, the 3,000-meter distance is a test of tactical patience. In middle distance racing, there is a concept known as the energy budget, where every surge must be weighed against its long-term cost. Healy's decision to lead the second group, rather than overextending herself to stay with the breakaway duo, demonstrated a sophisticated understanding of her current physiological ceiling. By dictating the pace of the chasers, she ensured the race remained productive for her development, effectively turning the event into a high-stakes tempo run that provided invaluable data for her future training cycles. This internal maturity is what separates phenoms from long-term professional prospects, as it prioritizes sustainable growth over the risk of a mid-race collapse. From a physiological standpoint, McGeehan's time of 8:48.28 represents a significant breakthrough in what sports scientists call lactate clearance capacity. To improve a personal best by 7 seconds at this elite level suggests that her training had successfully pushed her anaerobic threshold closer to her maximum oxygen uptake. Essentially, she was able to run at a pace that would typically trigger an unsustainable accumulation of lactic acid, yet her body managed to process and buffer that waste effectively until the very final meters. The closing 200-meter split was not merely a product of willpower. It was the discharge of a stored anaerobic battery that she had carefully protected throughout the first 2 kilometers. This ability to kick from a high cruising speed is the hallmark of a world-class championship runner, as it renders the athlete dangerous in both fast-paced races and slow tactical affairs. Furthermore, the geometry of the track played a silent but decisive role in the outcome. In indoor racing, the pole position, leading on the inside rail, is a defensive asset. By maintaining the lead, McGeehan forced Rosie Clark into a difficult tactical choice: either settle for the second position and hope to outsprint the leader in the final meters, or move to the outside lane to attempt an overtake. Moving to the second lane on a 200-meter track adds approximately 3 to 4 meters per lap. Over the course of the final intense kilometers, this tax on energy is often too high to pay. McGeehan's awareness of the track's dimensions allowed her to shut the door on every curve, effectively forcing Clark to run a longer, more exhausting race just to stay in contention. Ultimately, the 2020 AIT Grand Prix served as a vital data point in the broader Olympic cycle and the evolution of European middle-distance running. The performance validated the training philosophies being implemented in the Irish high-performance system and signaled that the domestic circuit could produce world-leading times. For the spectators, it was a visceral reminder of the beauty of the 3,000-meter distance, a race long enough to require deep tactical thinking, yet short enough to demand raw, uncompromising speed. McGeehan's victory was a synergy of hometown inspiration and elite physical execution, leaving a lasting legacy on the Athlone track. It proved that when an athlete's technical proficiency, physiological peak, and tactical intelligence converge, the result is an unforgettable display of human potential that elevates the entire sport.